afternoon, everybody. I'm Uncle Joseph from Bambino. Today I'm going to take you through ICT, Reception 1 and 2. Now, before we left for our long holidays, you remember we were doing one or two things in ICT before we ended the term, unexpectedly. Today we are going to recap and then try and see if we can remember the things we were learning before we left for our vacation. So we were talking about the computer. Do you remember we were talking about the computer? We were talking about the computer, and then we defined the computer in our own understanding. Now, we said the computer is an electronic device. The computer is an electronic device. The computer is an electronic device. Now, we understood that the computer is an electronic device because it is a device that needs electricity to be able to function and then help us do our work well. And then we went on to mention the types of computers we have. Do you remember? Where you were mentioning the washing machine, the blender, you mentioned the projector, the television, the telephone. Do you remember all that? One of you mentioned the laptop. Yes, exactly. So those are the examples of computers we were talking about earlier. And then we went on to study the history. We watched a video about the history of computers. So 5,000 years ago in China, I gave you a small funny story. Do you remember where there was a king, an emperor, but I said king in China, who had a lot of properties to count and all that, and they needed help. And then they created the abacus. The abacus. Do you remember the abacus? Yes. So the abacus was the first device designed to help us count. Hence, the first computer ever made. Do you remember that? And then the abacus is a thread, the rectangular thing with the beads that you move up and down when counting. If you could remember when you are doing UC Maths, the UC Maths tool looks exactly like the abacus. Do you remember? Yes, exactly. And then the computer graduated from there, and then we had our first ever electronic machine, and then we came on, and then we had our desktop. Now, we also went on to study the parts of the computer. So for the parts of the computer, how many of you remember? So for the parts of a computer, how many of you remember the parts? How many parts are there? We mentioned that there are 4 parts of a computer. Do you remember? And then we stated that we have the monitor, the part of the computer that looks like the television. You remember, right? Exactly. And then we mentioned the mouse, the computer mouse, not the mouse in our mommy's and daddy's home that eats up our bread and stuff. No, the computer mouse, the one you hold and then you move and then you click on things. Do you remember? Yes. And then we mentioned the keyboard. The keyboard is the one that has the alphabets, the letters, and then the numbers where you press and then you spell your name. And then we spoke about the system unit. System unit. which I made you understand that it is the brain of the computer. It does all the processing, all the things you see on the monitor. It goes through the system unit before you see them. Do you remember? Exactly. So I want you to tell mommy everything else that you remember about these various topics that we treated during second term. And then I'll come your way next week with another video teaching you something new for third term. So until then, stay safe and comport yourself at home, and we'll meet again. Bye-bye.